What's up, guys? Brady here, coming at you with a discography ranking for the Amity Affliction in preparation for their new upcoming album, House of Cards, dropping this Friday, April 24th. This is the first of 3 discography rankings that I will be uploading in preparation for this massive release date. So if that interests you, please feel free to hit the subscribe button and also stay tuned for my review of House of Cards after it releases. I've always liked this band's music. In general, like that kind of second wave metalcore sound is one that's rather hit or miss for me, but between former vocalist Aaron Stringer's soaring, clean vocals, and the band's use of things like cinematics and studio effects, and also just their very deep gut level and emotional lyricism they've always been constant draws to this band's sound for me. But we do, of course, have to start things out with my pick for the worst Amity Affliction album, which I'm going to give to Everyone Loves You Once You Leave Them from 2020. This isn't even like a bad album to me. This is just a record that feels really like noticeably undercooked and underwhelming and uninspired compared to past Amity Affliction releases. Like, the best way I can sum up this record is just by saying that you're better off listening to Chasing Ghosts, Let the Ocean Take Me, or This Could Be Heartbreak over this one, because this album really does just take that same sound and water it down. Even when the band kicks up the energy a little bit and gets a little fiery, like those blast beats on the first proper track on here, All My Friends Are Dead, once you get past those individual parts, it's kind of just business as usual in a way that just feels a little bit microwave. Soak Me and Bleach was supposed to be like the big single from this record, but between the really sing-songy chorus and those repetitive key lines, this track is just really forgettable. All I Do Is Sink, another track that just feels a little bit underwhelming compared to past Amity Affliction releases. And even when the band tries to kind of experiment a little bit, those songs fall equally as flat. A Loneliness being a good instance of that. Also, Baltimore Rain with those electronic influences that creep in just doesn't really work for me. Just to me, this record is a clear instance of the band just not really knowing what they wanted to do. So as a result, there's some kind of lukewarm, half-assed experimentation on here, but then there's also just recycled versions and weaker versions of the sound we've heard from them in the past. So the result is just an album that feels very non-essential and just a little bit stuck in the middle. But, I mean, even at their worst, this album isn't terrible. It's just really underwhelming. Top 3 tracks, probably the only tracks I like on here, Forever, Catatonia, and Fever Dream. At the number 7 spot is Severed Ties, the debut record. This is an album that I do respect just because of the fact that it's the band's debut record, and it does have a certain rawness and a certain hostility to it. This was back when Amity Affliction pretty much fully functioned as a post-hardcore band, and the songs themselves are a lot more straight-up aggressive, which I do like. That rawness and that just no-nonsense aggression that this record displays throughout definitely does give the record a charm. But I think this record's low for me on my list just because it comes off a little bit unrefined more than anything. And this record has kind of like an immaturity to it that makes it a little bit difficult for me to fully get into. The biggest instance of this being the corny, goofy songs like the Blair Snitch Project and Do You Party, which I get on the surface, these songs aren't really trying to do much. They're not trying to say much, but on the same record as other tracks on here that are trying to maybe reach a little bit below surface level, I just find that it makes for a really uneven listen. And songs like this that I can't really take seriously, it impacts the other songs that I'm supposed to take seriously. And just in the full album context, the record just feels a little bit sprawling and a little bit, again, incohesive, and like there wasn't a clear direction for it, which does make sense given that it's the band's debut. This is also one of those records where the songs kind of all blend together. The individual tracks on here don't do that much to set themselves apart, like what would be a quality of future releases from the band. And of course, like production-wise, this is probably the band's most unrefined album, which again, I mean, it makes sense since it's the debut, but it's for these reasons that debut albums have a tendency to kind of rank lower, at least on my list. Top 3 tracks I'll give to BDKIAF, Love is a Battlefield, and Poison Pen Letters. At the number 6 pick, probably a predictable pick, the band's second album, Youngbloods. And again, it's very similar issues as the first one. This one does feel a little bit more well thought out, a little bit more refined, I will admit. But it also maintains kind of like that rawness of the first record, which is probably why I like it better overall. But on tracks like I Hate Hartley and Fire or Knife, the unclean vocal performance, the screams on these songs sound noticeably improved from the first record. Compared to the first record, the melodic heavy balance definitely feels a lot more well thought out on this record as well. Tracks like Anchors and Old English 800 and Look Back are all songs that kind of embrace more of like these melodic stripped back parts that just feel a little bit more cohesive with the song, as opposed to maybe on tracks on the first record where things felt a little bit more forced together. Things feel a lot more smooth with this record. There's also somewhat more of a synthetic element throughout this record compared to the first one, which is all these things I'm saying I feel like are indicators of what the band would do on future records, but they're just not quite pushed to the forefront enough on here to make this one of the band's more memorable records. The songs also do blend together still quite a bit, and the production definitely lacks a little bit as well compared to future releases. So that's why this album's kind of ranked a little bit low, but I do like it slightly better than the self-titled. Top 3 tracks, Anchors, Fire or Knife, and Old English 800. Number 5, this is a record that I'm sure many of you are expecting to be a bit lower on the list, but I'll explain why it's in the middle for me. Misery. This is probably the band's most divisive album, and actually we did talk about it on Hector the Chill Dude on the Couch's channel. We did Is It That Bad episode for it. I'll be sure to link that somewhere up here. I thought that was a perfect record to talk about on that series, because quite literally, for me at least, half of it is fucking amazing. Like, there's several songs on here that maybe are like the best songs this band has ever put out. And then the other half is absolute shit. Like some of the worst stuff the band has ever put out. Like, this album is so sprawling with its quality. That makes it quite a fascinating case study. And then maybe there's like a couple tracks that fall right into that middle spot. Like the real energetic and catchy and anthemic rock songs on here, like Black Cloud, Beltsville Blues, Drag the Lake, Holier Than Heaven. These songs are phenomenal. Like they're super catchy. The choruses in particular see Orange Stringer's vocals just absolutely soar throughout. The choruses on these songs are just unbelievable. Set Me Free is another one that does that well. It's more of like a ballad type track, but again, it has like such an endearing energy to it, and again, a really anthemic, catchy chorus. Those tracks literally are probably all in my top 10 Amity Affliction songs, period. But then on the flip side, the pop influence stuff on here is fucking awful. Like, Feels Like I'm Dying has to be the worst track this band ever put out. It's a fucking mess. Like, they did not know what to do with Joel's unclean vocals on the song, so they had him just yell a random scream part in the chorus that's preceded by like this dance funk beat that comes out of nowhere, and then Orange vocals do like this like spacey sing-songy thing. Die, or D-I-E, another brutal low point on here, when he actually spells out in the bridge, "Die, my darling." And it's one of the worst moments I've ever heard on an Amity Affliction song, period, without question. You have the title track on here, and a track like Kick Rocks, also just more pop influence stuff on here that just does not work. And then, yeah, you have tracks like the closer, The Gift Horse, and the lead single, Ivy Doomsday, which fit pretty comfortably in the middle. Like, not bad songs, but definitely not as good as some of the other high points on this record. So yeah, definitely a very inconsistent record, very spotty, but the high points are very, very high. And that it does it enough for me to give it the number 5 spot. Top 3 tracks: Black Cloud, Beltsville Blues, and Holier Than Heaven. Number 4 is This Could Be Heartbreak. This is actually an album that I remember not really being into before, just because I always kind of saw it as a slightly watered down version of Let the Ocean Take Me prior. But now I think maybe given context and just re-listening to this album, I enjoyed it a lot more than I remember. I can kind of see where I was coming from with thinking that it was kind of like a watered down version of the album prior. But really what it actually is it's taking Let the Ocean Take Me's sound and just making it slightly more melodic and accessible. You do have a song on here like OMG IMY, aka Oh My God, I Miss You, which is pretty cheesy. But aside from that, I mean, the rest of the songs, they function well in their roles. Like I Bring the Weather With Me and Tearing Me Apart, both songs that feel like they would have fit pretty comfortably on the prior 2 records, but in a good way. They have that energy to them. They have that emotion to them as well. Fight My Regret, Wishbone, Some Friends, all songs that have a lot of catchy moments throughout, even aside from just the choruses. And then All Fucked Up is actually a song that I really enjoy still. This is one that it's so unashamed in what it's trying to go for that you can't help but still respect it and have the need to sing along to it. And I know this is kind of like a recurring theme I'm saying, but Orange's vocals just sound so good in that chorus. And yeah, overall, this album may have slightly less energy than the 2 albums that followed up. But at the same time, like it does pull off pretty well that slightly more melodic and also angsty sound. Top 3 tracks: I Bring the Weather With Me, All Fucked Up, and Tearing Me Apart. The truth is that I won't Number 3 is Chasing Ghosts, the band's third album. Right out of the gates with the title track, you can tell that this album just is a lot more well thought out, a lot more balanced in both its style and its production. And this is also, I think, the record where Arn really comes into his own with the clean vocals. That might have been a little awkward sounding on the first 2 records. He sounds a lot more confident on this one. The up and down dynamics on this record are a lot more well executed, just between, again, the heavy and melodic. I think Life Underground is a great instance of that. Also, songs like Open Letter and Green's Avenue and PBR on Ice, despite the weird title, are all songs that feel like they're kind of giving Amity Affliction their own unique sound. And this album overall feels like the most it feels like the album that set Amity Affliction apart from some of their peers. Also, lyrically, I will shout out this record for maybe being one of Amity Affliction's best, just taking a no-nonsense, just raw, straightforward approach, but done in ways that are still poetic. This is just a much more vulnerable record, and the heaviness is still there too, which I have to salute this band for, considering the more melodic route they would eventually go down. Top 3 tracks: Life Underground, Open Letter, and Flower Bomb. At the number 2 spot, it's got to be the band's most recent album, Not Without My Ghosts. I remember when this album dropped about 3 years ago now, and I remember just being floored with especially the singles that were released, because this is by far the band's heaviest album to date. I mean, I See Dead People, that song fucking crushes. It's basically a full-on deathcore song. For one, the drum performance on that song is out of this world. It is nonstop, lightning-fast double bass work and blast beats. It's such a step up from the band's prior drum work. And the ominous, like evil almost melodies on this track is just, they hit so hard. The vocals are absolutely vicious. And then you get that transmission in the bridge that is actually from a friend of the band that passed away. The song is kind of somewhat in memory of him, because lyrically it takes a very angry a very angry point of view on just someone seeing all of their friends pass away, which, is such a cluster of emotions. And I feel like this song it captures that so well. Also, Show Me Your God, which is the lead single, that crushing double bass section with the fucking choir vocals pulsating behind it, that is just such an epic collision of sound. And with that song, you still get that somewhat familiar sounding Amity Affliction clean chorus that manages to still feel very cohesive with the rest of the song, despite the really heavy ideas going on around it. That kind of chaotic, discordant intro on the track, When It Rains and Pours, is another highlight for me. It brings to mind maybe some of the band's late 90s metallic hardcore influence. And despite all of these tracks feel like some of the band's heaviest material to date, they still make room for a lot of genuinely anthemic and massive, catchy choruses. Fade Away is a highlight for me on here. That chorus is just super anthemic and very memorable. Same thing with God Voice, that's another good one. These are both tracks that have like a good contrast between the heaviness and the melody. Then you have a track like The Big Sleep, which amplifies more of just pure melody, but it's still, again, it feels like it fits on the album so well. Obviously, you have the melodic closing title track, which functions as the ballad of the record, which I think is very well pulled off. Production-wise, this is the best the band have ever sounded, in my opinion. Everything just sounds so full and in your face. And this is a really great album. Obviously, I put it at number 2. I think maybe the only thing that holds it back is maybe like a couple filler tracks. Like I remember It's Hell Down Here was the third single, and I was particularly underwhelmed with that one, just because that one felt to me like it could have fit pretty well on Everyone Loves You Once You Leave Them, just in a sense that it's just kind of a lukewarm version of stuff we've heard before from the band. But aside from that, yeah, this record fucking kicks ass, and it's definitely the heaviest the band has ever sounded. Top 3 tracks I'm going to give to Fade Away, Show Me Your God, and I See Dead People. I say the ghosts of my friends, they turn and break it out of life. And yeah, that means number 1 is Let the Ocean Take Me from 2014. Maybe the band's most beloved album. I don't know. Comment below if you agree with that. I definitely think this is the band's like classic album at this point among that second wave of metalcore. So to me, the single greatest thing about this record is the clean choruses. These are some of the best clean choruses that the second wave of metalcore has to offer, period. Lost and Fading, Don't Lean on Me, The Way Down, Forest Fire, obviously Pittsburgh. These are all tracks that just have just absolute earworms of choruses. But then again, you have tracks like Death's Hand and My Father's Son, also Lost and Fading to some degree, where the instrumental sections are a lot more hooky, a lot more heavy as well. And they definitely add to the memorability of this record, because on prior releases where the choruses were the highlight of the song, they felt like they were maybe carrying the weight a little bit more. Whereas on these tracks, everything works together so well. This is also probably, for me, the band's first full-on metalcore record. It's also the record where the cinematics really take center stage and add a lot to the song. And with this record, the band definitely does give the melody more of the center stage over the heaviness, but I think it's done perfectly here, just with the balance, because the heaviness, it still does its job. It still gives that proper contrast to the melodic parts to where it still gives the record an edge to it. And this record is just where the band struck that balance between everything, the cinematics and the production, the soaring clean vocals and clean choruses, the pretty hard hitting and infectious heavier instrumental sections, the very vulnerable but relatable lyrics, the vocal dynamics between Joel and Aaron, just kind of knowing what to do and where to do it. This, I mean, at least to me, is the Amity Affliction album. And I feel like it's not that surprising of a pick for number one. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. Top three tracks on this one, I'm going to give to Death's Hand, The Way Down, and Don't Lean on Me. And yeah, that's all I have for my Amity Affliction album ranking. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to stay tuned for my review of House of Cards once it's dropped. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I don't know. I'm not sure how it's going to go with the new clean vocalist, but I'm going into it with an open mind, and I'm hoping for the best. Remember to hit the subscribe button for more rock and metal-related content and album reviews. Comment below how you would rank the Amity Affliction's albums. And until next time, thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.